And what we want to guide our teams towards is something in the middle, right? Because we want to be intentional. We want to be direct, the way an aggressive fundraiser might be. However, we want to be patient. We want to be strategic. We want to value relationship and to really get to know the donor the way a more passive fundraiser might be. And it's the job of the manager, whether you're a fundraiser, an executive director, or whatever your role is, to really help give guidance and correction there. Welcome to the Abundant Vision Fundraising Podcast. Whether you are a seasoned professional or a first-time fundraiser, we have the advice you need to take your next step toward major gift mastery. I'm your host, Tom Dauber, President of Abundant Vision Philanthropic Consulting. Last week, we reviewed many of the types of fundraising-related metrics you could track to evaluate and manage fundraising performance. This week, we're going to talk more practically about which of those metrics are most helpful and how you can use them to grow fundraising revenue. Now, as I talk to nonprofit leaders, I'm always surprised by how many of them haven't been trained in this area. I'm hopeful that this podcast will be of great help to a lot of nonprofits. Now, if you're one of those nonprofits, please, I hope you'll help me get the word out by giving this podcast a 5-star rating on your podcast provider and share it with your colleagues on your social media channels. Thanks so much in advance for your help with that. Now let's get on with the show. How do we use all these numbers to measure our performance? Well, I highly recommend visualizing that data into stacked charts. So many CRMs can automatically do this for you in real time. I know RE NXT, Razor's Edge NXT was able to do this, and I loved it. There's an image I have on LinkedIn of 3 stacked charts. And one of them is Aaron Aggressive. One of them is, I forget the names. They all are, alliterative. But either way, you have 3 development officers. And, development officers tend to it's kind of like Goldilocks. We tend to the extremes. And what we want to guide our teams towards is something in the middle, right? Because we want to be intentional. We want to be direct, the way an aggressive fundraiser might be. However, we want to be patient. We want to be strategic. We want to value relationship and to really get to know the donor the way a more passive fundraiser might be. And it's the job of the manager, whether you're a fundraiser, an executive director, or whatever your role is, to really help give guidance and correction there. And if you take your stacked charts and you see a stacked chart that has maybe 2 solicitations for an entire year, and 150 cultivation and stewardship visits, and no closes, well, that person's probably more passive and probably needs some more guidance, or at least a conversation to understand why they're doing what they're doing. Now, I will say, in a fundraiser's first year, a lot of times it pays dividends later to be patient and not to rush out and start soliciting everyone. So a brand new fundraiser at an organization may want to be more passive in their approach, more relational, and not solicit a bunch of gifts in those first 12 months as they're building relationships. So there are reasons for that. At the same time, a fundraiser who's been there forever knows everyone and knows them well, and maybe they're in the last year of a campaign and they've been there for 7 years. They may be soliciting everybody to help get to campaign goal, and they may have the relational depth with their donors to be able to do that. I mean, I can tell you that, we had an urgent need once, and my dean asked me to call our 3 best donors and ask them, see if any of them could give us $500,000 over the phone. Not always the ideal situation, but it was a really urgent need to help recruit a very high level faculty member that honestly we were competing with another flagship university for, and we got it. Yeah, we got the $500,000 we needed. But it was because we had a sense of urgency. It was because we had a compelling goal, around cancer research, And we had a deep relationship with these donors. I think this couple had given us probably 6 or 7 major gifts over probably 10 to 15-year period. Like, these were people who were bought in and deeply connected to the school. And I knew them well. So all that being said, is there might be reasons that your development officer is being very aggressive in a season, but it's your job as a manager to see those indicators and have the conversation and ask the question, because that's what a good manager does. Now, on the flip side, so you have those two examples, but then you see the person who's balanced. Betty Balanced, I think, is what I called her in my my LinkedIn article. And with Betty, you see an appropriate number of asks, an appropriate number of closes, a balanced approach to stewardship and cultivation and solicitation and all the things that you want to see, right? Kind of the ideal situation for the average year. The reason it's so great is that you can tell a ton about your development officer's work very, very quickly with just a glance in that approach. And that will help guide you as a manager to ask better questions in your one-on-ones. So the last thing that I'd recommend looking at carefully is yield rate and close rates. Now, I've heard some fundraisers brag about closing 90% of the gifts they solicit. But honestly, I'd question if those fundraisers were playing it too safe with their solicitations. On the other hand, if a fundraiser is closing only 10% of the gifts they're soliciting, I would question if they need to develop better strategies and spend more time getting to know their donors. Now, I take a similar approach to the amount of money solicited versus donated. If your donors are always accepting your ask amount, it implies that you're just not asking them at levels that require real consideration, and vice versa. I mean, if you come up to me and ask me for $1, even if I didn't know you, I'd probably give you $1. I've got $1. I don't have to think about that question. But if you ask me for, $10,000, that's going to take some conversation. I might be open to it depending on what the purpose is for. Does it, and if it helps my wife and I achieve our goals, I don't know. But that's the level of conversation you want to have. You want to have a conversation that takes some thought and isn't an easy answer. And if you're getting easy answers, then you're not doing something right, and you're probably leaving a lot of money on the table. Tom Dauber here for Abundant Vision Academy. Are you a nonprofit leader who's new to fundraising? Are you feeling crushed by your fundraising goals and not sure how to find success? My online class, crafted from my 25 years of experience and more than 5,000 donor meetings, Abundant Vision Academy will give you the confidence and understanding you need to start building relationships with donors and having gift discussions in just 110 minutes. You'll get 14 videos covering all the topics you need to find success in fundraising. You can take it at your own pace and can watch as many times as you'd like. This is one of the best deals in fundraising continuing education you can get today. To make sure you get off to a strong start in 2024, I'm offering a 50% discount to anyone signing up for my course this spring. That's a $375 value. Enter the coupon code SPRING2024 at checkout to claim your 50% discount. That's SPRING 2024. Head on over to thomas-dauber-s-school.teachable.com and click on Abundant Vision Academy to get your discount today. The link is in the podcast description. Ultimately, the question of which metrics is your organization going to use are really up to you as a manager. But whatever they are, it's important that you not treat them all the same. You may decide that you want a contact metric. You may decide to make sure my fundraisers are busy. And now this isn't something I recommend, but some people do this. I want to make sure my fundraisers are busy, and so I am going to require them to have 240 meetings with donors per year. Okay, well that's fine, but then you got to decide how much do you want to weight that in your evaluation. Is that 50% of their grade? Is that 10% of their grade? Is that 5% of their grade? If I measure that at all, personally, I'm making that 5%. Here's why. There are people that they are managing who will meet with them anytime they're asked. They just love talking with you. They love having coffee, and it's a cultivation meeting, right? And so it's a very easy number to game, or in some cases, major gift officers may even kind of game the system a little bit by slowing down the process. They may see that the donor's ready to ask, but they may just say, well, let's talk next time about a specific number when the donor's ready to do it right now, right? And so you don't want to incentivize the fundraiser taking more time than is necessary. So if you measure that metric at all, you want to make that a very low weight. You want that weighting, whatever that is, and whatever metrics you're measuring, to add up to 100%. But for me, I would put my heaviest weighting on that repeat major gift donation metric, major gifts solicited, because again, that's the quickest way to move the needle on fundraising revenue, and major gifts closed. That would be the thing, with lighter weighting on the other goal metrics. Now, a lot of places basically operate in a way that it's just a single number. Did my major gift officer raise the amount of money we needed for our budget this year? Here's why that's a bad idea. A, in their first year, you probably shouldn't be expecting your major gift officer to raise all that much money. They're just building relationships with people. They're getting to know people. They're establishing themselves as a credible person working for your organization. You want them building relationships and understanding who your people are and learning about their values so that in the next couple years, they can have meaningful gift conversations at very high levels. The other thing too is there's a lot of luck in this business. Now I will say that the harder I work, the luckier I get, but there's a lot of luck. And it is not unusual for a fundraiser to have one chance meeting at the right time with the right person and raise the entire amount of money that you've set them for their goal in a single year all at once. Well, then what else is there for them to do? If that's the only thing you're measuring, they could take the rest of the year off and you've got no other choice but to give them achieved expectations for the year. That's why we need these other metrics. On the flip side, things happen with the economy. I've raised money through 3 major gift turndowns. So, there was the downturn with 9/11. There was the downturn with, and I might have been even on the edge of the tech bubble when I first started in '99. Then there was the housing crisis in 2008. And then, of course, there was a pandemic most recently. I've raised money in all 3 of those environments. Well, do you want to really be in a position, manager, to look at your fundraiser and tell them you didn't meet expectations, you did a bad job because the stock market crashed and all of your donors are afraid to give right now? Is that the manager you want to be? Well, because that's what you're setting up if that's the approach you're taking to this. This is why we need all the metrics. We need this. We need to look at stewardship. We need to look at the ask amounts. We need to look at the asks. We need to, that's why there is some value even to measuring contacts. There's all those different things that a fundraiser does that you want to look at. A, to keep them working after they've already hit their, when they've hit their fundraising goal early, but also to give them something to do when it becomes obvious that there is no way in heck that the major gift goal that they have can be reached in a given year. Because sometimes that happens, right? And it's not the fault of your fundraiser when that happens all the time. Sometimes it is, but you can't assume that it's always their fault. Ultimately, though, it's your organization's call on what metrics you want to raise and how you want to put those out there. So, are there metrics that you think are really helpful that I didn't mention? How would you go about weighting What's the right thing for your organization? If you have any thoughts, questions, or even critiques about the approaches I'm suggesting, I hope you'll leave a comment or even reach out to me on LinkedIn. Either way, to share your thoughts on the matter. That's what I've got for you this week in terms of major gift metrics and managing fundraisers. As always, I'm your host, Tom Dauber. Thank you for joining me as we journey together toward major gift mastery on the Abundant Vision Fundraising Podcast.